Welcome back to Knights of the Blind. And for those of you that have joined us in the past, you know that this show pays homage to a promise that was made to Helen Keller back in 1925 by Lions Club members. And here in Oregon, we are extremely blessed to have a veritable plethora of Knights of the Blind, people that have helped others restore vision and have the gift of sight and hearing. And tonight's show, maybe more than any other show, epitomizes this promise that was made to Helen Keller. We have tonight not only somebody that has benefited from Knights of the Blind, but also the healthcare provider that helped restore vision. So I'd like to introduce to you Julia Gray and Dr. Scott Grealish from EyeHealth Northwest. So if it's okay, I'm going to start, Julia, with you.
Okay.
Welcome to Knights of the Blind.
Thank you.
And can you tell us just a little bit about your background in terms of what led you to meet Dr. Grealish and to meet the Lions of Oregon? Tell us a little bit about your vision health.
I was at a normal, regular eye exam. It had been 15 months since I was in for my previous exam. And I could tell over that period of time that I had a very rapid deterioration of my vision. Everything got darker and darker and fuzzier. My balance was affected. I changed the way I walk to keep from lilting one way or the other. And at that eye exam, my ophthalmologist confirmed that I had very serious cataracts. When I first sat in the chair in the exam office, he came in and he was about 2.5 feet from me, and he said, "I can see your cataracts from here."
Wow.
That was rather shocking news to me.
So at that point, how long had it been that you knew that there was something up with your vision, that you just weren't seeing quite right?
It was about 1.5 years of pretty intense loss of capabilities, losing perspective on things, curbs, staircases. Like a staircase that's painted gray just looks like a slide to me. There wasn't any definition of edges or different elevations of things. And everything got darker and darker so that eventually the color was missing. The only color I could really see was red. And I only found out after the fact, but that's the one part of the color spectrum that you can still see when you're losing your vision. And luckily enough, he went straight from the exam room and on the phone to the Oregon Sight and Hearing Foundation and sent a letter of recommendation to the director, Kareth Vance, and they faxed over an application to his office, and I took that home. I filled out all the documentation. I collected all the financial information. I wrote a cover letter explaining my journey to this point, and I hand-delivered it. And I was stunned. It was probably maybe a week or 10 days, and I got a phone call from Kareth Vance saying, "We find your story compelling, and we'd really like to help you with our program." And you ended up having actually 2 cataract surgeries, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But tell us a little bit, what was it like going blind, having surgery, and then having your vision restored? Because I know that I take my vision for granted, and I don't want to experience the fact that I might be scared that I'm going to go blind. But what was that feeling like when all of a sudden you could see again? It was really stunning. I had forgotten how crisp and colorful the world is. And I would just walk around downtown and in my neighborhood and just look at things. I quit looking at things, you know, because I couldn't see very far in front of me. Now I look at the architecture again, and I look up at the trees, and I see all the blue skies, and it's just stunning.
You have 2 grandsons.
I do.
And I love what you told me earlier about, I think it was the youngest grandson, that once you were able to see again, you were able to, for the first time,
see his eyelashes. He was 14 months old, and they came to where I work, and from the minute the front door opened, he was not this little wandering blob that was coming at me. I could see him, and when he got up close, it was the first time I ever saw his eyelashes.
And how old was he at the time?
14 months.
14 months.
And now he's 2.5. And I have a brand new grandson, and I can see him crystal clear. Thank you very much.
Very nice. So we, at the Oregon Lion Sight and Hearing Foundation, we love playing a small role in helping people get back to work, or being able to drive at night.
Very important.
Being able to see their family members, of course. It's heartwarming to hear you describe the story of seeing your grandson's eyelashes again. That's
that
wonderful.
was like a minor miracle to me. I had not been able to see small things like that. I couldn't thread a needle anymore. I always had a cut, a burn, a bruise somewhere on my hands or my arms from walking into things or just miscalculating when I was in the kitchen doing something.
So let's meet the doctor that made it possible for you to see your grandson's eyelashes again, Dr. Scott Grealish from EyeHealth Northwest. Scott, thanks for joining us on Nights of the Blind.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
So tell us a little bit from a medical perspective. What is a cataract? Tell us a little bit about the procedure for Julia, and because most of us probably don't understand exactly what cataracts are and why they make it difficult for us to see.
Sure. Well, Julia had a pretty asymmetric case too. She had a cataract that was much worse in one eye than the other, and a cataract just means a cloudy lens inside the eye. We all have a lens naturally in our eye, and as we get older, that lens can definitely cloud up. And it often happens quite gradually as folks get into their 60s or 70s or older. But Julia's came on really very rapidly, as she's described, and also advanced quickly to a very advanced level to the point where in that eye that had the more serious cataract, she couldn't see anything on the eye chart. It was literally just seeing a hand sort of waving in front of that eye.
I couldn't even see my hand like this, waving, no color, no dark, no light, just all dark. No movement.
Wow. And the situation that Julia described in terms of only seeing red, again, from a doctor's perspective, what's the explanation for
Sure.
that?
So we see people all the time who gradually develop a darkening or yellowing and even a brown coloration of the lens inside the eye, and that as that cataract develops and goes over time, they start to lose all the blues in the color spectrum. And so we hear quite often, actually, when we do surgery, even the day afterward, people say, "Well, I didn't realize that my room's painted completely differently than I thought it was. The sky's much bluer than I thought it was."
Exactly.
And honestly, Julia's case had gone beyond that to the point where she couldn't really even see images in that eye. But luckily, like really most folks who get cataract surgery, quickly they recover, and even the next day, even if the cataract's very advanced, we can completely remove that. We put a new lens, an actual artificial lens inside of the eye. It's about the size of an M&M. It's really tiny, and once that goes in, that gives them clear vision again.
So you're not quite the bionic woman, yet you do have some artificial parts.
I do.
Yeah.
Both my lenses.
I think a lot of people, myself included, never really realized that an actual artificial lens replaces the cataract, which would lead some people to think, wow, this must be major surgery. It must take hours and hours. Tell us a little bit about, with the advance of medical technology, what's a typical surgery take?
Well,
What's it look like?
Even in my career, and I've been doing this about 20 years now, I can tell you the first one I did probably took over an hour.
Okay.
It's under 10 minutes, honestly, for me most of the time.
Wow.
It's amazing, and some of that's obviously just the advancement in our technology. It's just phenomenal what we can do now when we go in there inside of the eye. It's actually painless for patients.
It is.
Well, it's easy for you to say. Let's hear Julia's perspective of that. Tell us, what was the procedure like? How long did it take? What did it feel like? Walk us through that.
Well, the first eye took about 20 minutes, and I was forewarned it may take a little longer than your traditional 15-minute surgery. And you go into a pre-op area, and they put drops in your eyes that sort of freeze your eye into place and numb your eye, and you get a little bit of a sedative and an IV. And they're very careful to put an X over the eye that's going to be operated on.
Nice to do the correct eye.
And they keep asking you, which eye are we doing? Which eye are we doing? And then we go into the surgery room, which is not large, but there's a lot of people in there. The anesthesiologist is there, and then several machines monitoring everything. And they strap you to this table very tightly, so you can't flinch at all. It's very critical that you do not move at all.
They didn't want you to change your mind and leave, probably.
Yeah,
also.
so they strap your head down and they recline you, and then they put this heavy protective kind of a vest, plastic vest thing over you, including your face, and there's a cutout for your eye. So it's very sci-fi. You know, I felt like I was in a science fiction movie. And you don't really feel anything, but I described this in my first speech at the Lions Club, that you see these white blobs, you know, kind of squeegeeing back and forth across your eyeball, and then you'll see a flash of pink, and then some more little dancing white blobs. And I think right about then, I noticed that they had the generic elevator music playing in the surgery room. And I said, you know, you really should be playing Dark Side of the Moon for this.
Do you can choose your own music?
We do, actually. We occasionally
Everybody
take
laughs.
So
requests.
you're a Muzak fan, it sounds like.
It's funny. Julia has some memory of the procedure, and
I do.
And it's a common story. We sometimes do hear that people see it from their viewpoint as some just a light show, really.
Yeah.
I'd say as many or more patients actually get just enough of the sedative. They have no memory at all, actually.
Okay.
They walk out and say, "Well, are you done?"
Yeah.
Didn't even realize. And I thought you highlighted a great thing, which is that it's really, really a team effort. Part of what makes this work well now, part of the advancement, if you will, is the creation of like our surgery center, where you've got a team that just does eye surgery all the time, thousands of times a year. So you've got, you know, nurses in the pre-op area that know exactly what's going on. You've got people in the room. There's as you said, there's a team of people.
Someone's always checking on you.
And I think, you know, the whole team is really, really part of the program that makes it very successful.
Well, I'll tell you that I've had an opportunity to visit both of the surgery centers of EyeHealth Northwest, and from the moment you walk through the door and the way you are greeted, to the pre-op experience that I've had an opportunity to visit and observe, and then of course the surgeons are first rate. Everybody on the EyeHealth Northwest team is professional, courteous, and we love to have you as part of the Mission Cataract team, which we really haven't talked much about that program. So Mission Cataract is a program where the Oregon Lions Sight and Hearing Foundation invites healthcare providers like Dr. Grealish and EyeHealth Northwest from around the state to join forces to help people that lack health insurance, can't afford the out-of-pocket expense of having cataract surgery done. And we're able to help people like Julia. And Julia, you had both eyes taken care of. So tell us a little bit about, was there a difference in your anxiety level or nervousness between the first surgery you had and the second one?
Oh, light years difference, yes. Because it's a whole new frontier when you first go in for this, because it's your eyeball. And, you know, if you poke it with a mascara wand, it hurts like crazy. So you're allowing yourself to have your vision altered, and I felt very comfortable with Dr. Grealish, his whole staff. Everyone there was very welcoming, and even in pre-op they were clapping and saying, "Oh, we're so glad you're here. We're happy to help. Thanks for coming." And just gracious, welcoming, beautiful people. And so the second surgery, it was just like it was a cakewalk. I knew what to expect. It took a few minutes less because it wasn't as huge of a cataract. And everyone was just lovely.
You were an experienced veteran going into the second surgery.
And they were 11 months apart. And one thing I'd like to point out is that from the day I talked to the Sight and Hearing Foundation and from the first day I met you, you both said, "We'll be with you when you need the second one done." And of course, you know, there's some skepticism when someone tells you that. And so it was lovely that you both, you know, kept your word, kept your promise.
Well, it was our pleasure, absolutely. I do want to utilize the fact that you've mentioned that after having the first surgery done, that the second one was like a cakewalk, and you were so much more relaxed, to encourage maybe those that are out there that have a cataract, and maybe there's a little anxiety. I'm talking about my mom partly. Maybe there's a little anxiety about having cataract surgery done. It's one thing for a doctor to say it, or someone like me to say it, but when you've had 2 surgeries and you were nervous about the first one, but the second one, it sounds like you were just very confident.
Yeah. No anxiety, complete trust in everyone who crossed my path, and the recovery was so quick. You come in for an exam the next day. You know how I couldn't even see the big E at the top of the eye chart with this eye. And on the day afterwards, even with the swollen cornea that you mentioned, I could read several lines of the eye chart.
So Dr. Grealish, tell us a little bit about the recuperation time then. What is that like typically for a patient after the surgery is completed? How long can they expect it to take to be able to see 20/20? And
Sure, no, it's a great question, and I think Julia's case was a little bit unique actually in that right. We don't, in the United States, we don't see cataracts that big very often, honestly. We see them, it's a leading cause of blindness in the world, and we certainly, in other countries where there is no access whatsoever to healthcare, people get cataracts that are white, literally, like yours was. But most of our patients have less severe cataracts, and honestly come in even the next day, not just seeing some letters on the eye chart, but really often seeing 20/20 letters on the eye chart. They certainly feel good the next day. I'd say to a person, they recover fast in terms of their sensations, and have mild discomfort with a little bit of scratchiness perhaps, but really not much typically.
Yeah.
And it's a true story that the first eye is always the one. We obviously do this all the time and find that folks are nervous. It's their eye. We try to tell them it's going to be easy, but no matter what we say, they often go through it and say, glad I'm done with that. The second one's going to be easy.
Right.
And it is.
Yeah.
Great to hear. Great to hear. So somebody once told me, and it was a doctor, that if we live long enough, inevitably we'll develop a cataract. So it's not necessarily a lifestyle type of an issue that causes a cataract, but are there certain people that maybe are more prone to developing cataracts, or are there things that we can do to maybe prolong the event taking place? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. No, and I think that's a common feeling amongst eye care providers, is that as we look at our population, as we see folks getting older, of course we expect to see cataracts develop. I think some of this is just inevitable no matter what we choose to do with our health. But there's a lot of risk factors. For instance, smoking is a great example where it increases the rate of cataract formation. It definitely causes cataracts to appear at a younger age. Some folks have diabetes. Again, definitely getting cataracts at a much younger age typically. I've seen folks in their 30s literally come in with cataracts with diabetes. And there are certain medicines that also can cause cataracts. Steroids is a great example. So we sometimes have some control over these things. Unfortunately, vitamins and supplements and things like that have been looked at for many, many years, and unfortunately nothing's really helpful on that score. But as we get older, we get more cataract as a general rule, and do expect to be fixing it at some point with surgery.
Okay, so I imagine there's probably some people watching the show. I hope there's some people watching the show that maybe are saying to themselves, I don't see quite like I did a year ago or 5 years ago. What are some of the symptoms, whether it's of cataracts or of any other type of vision health issue, that you would suggest go see an eye doctor and have it looked at?
Well, I think you really hit on it. It's blurry vision. I mean, folks, I think that they don't feel anything differently when they have the cataract, but they notice changes in the vision, and it can be in a lot of different ways. For a lot of our patients, they first notice it if they're driving at night, and they see more glare with the headlights, and especially the newer, brighter headlights, and they have difficulty with that. Some patients say that they need a lot more light than they used to read. They find it much more difficult to do that. It could be a lot of activities of our normal daily life that could get impacted. And honestly, the best route there is to simply come in and get an exam. And any ophthalmologist can look and can actually grade the amount of cloudiness or yellowing in the lens that's there. And we can follow it over time.
That's great. That's great. And again, our friends at EyeHealth Northwest have been so generous to be part of this Mission Cataract program, which I'll take just a moment to describe how a few years ago there were 3 doctors in Oregon that were participating in this, really a national program called Mission Cataract. And one of them was a Lions Club member down in Roseburg, Dr. John Mark Weston, who referred to now as kind of the pioneer or the godfather of Mission Cataracts in Oregon. Well, since that time, we've been a little bit more aggressive, if you will, in terms of inviting people to join Dr. Weston and the other healthcare providers that are participating in Mission Cataract. And what I still find amazing and so generous is that iHealth Northwest provides the facility to our program at no cost to the Oregon Lions Sight and Hearing Foundation. The anesthesia is donated, and the anesthesiologist, the lenses that you described earlier, I think it's Alcon donates those, and of course the doctors and the rest of the staff are donating their time. There's been another program in Oregon through our Oregon Lions Sight and Hearing Foundation where people have generously discounted, and we've been able to help people at an 80% discount, which is fantastic, and we love that program. But when people support us, we can stretch their support even further when we have people just outright saying, you know what, instead of going to Mexico or India or Africa to do a mission trip, some of these healthcare providers are doing mission trips right here in their own backyard. So since 2011, which is when EyeHealth Northwest joined our Mission Cataract team, hot off the presses, I was just informed that 87 people now have received cataract surgeries, not only at no, and these are people that, again, do not have health insurance, and this is before the Affordable Care Act kicked in, and could not afford the out-of-pocket expense for these types of surgeries. And this is who the Oregon Lions Sight and Hearing Foundation is proud to help. And so thank you so much for helping almost 90 people now. We absolutely love our relationship with EyeHealth Northwest. Why don't you tell us a little bit about EyeHealth Northwest? Where you're located, and why has EyeHealth Northwest decided to join this Mission Cataract program?
Well, I think it was a really good fit for our group, and I want to point out that there are 14 surgeons at our Clackamas Surgery Center that are involved in this program. And I think it was a natural fit because the vast majority of all the surgeons in EyeHealth Northwest have gone on mission trips to countries around the world for decades, literally. And really when we heard about there being an opportunity to do that sort of work locally, I think we all found it very attractive on several levels. We knew there would be an unfilled need that we could meet with our capacity, but also we were able to do the exact same surgery using the exact same quality of lens implant and et cetera for the Mission Cataract patients that we can do for anybody. And that is not done around the world. It's a little bit different surgery that folks get on those mission trips. So I think the surgeons thought it was a great idea.
It is so fun to, as a non-doctor, not only am I not a doctor, but I don't even play one on TV, to walk into one of your facilities on one of these Mission Cataract days, because your staff have said this is their favorite day of the year. And it's just so heartwarming, not only, well, primarily to see people get helped, but to see how the enjoyment level of your staff and the reward that they seem to be experiencing by providing these cataract surgeries. So, saying thank you just doesn't seem to justify what you're providing, and in terms of the value of people being able to see again and being able to see their grandchildren's eyelashes. I don't know if you can really put a price tag on that.
You can't.
Yeah. Julia, I also find it wonderful that you've received help through this program, through Lions, but you didn't let it just stop right there. Now you yourself are getting involved in helping others. You're now a Lions Club member.
I am, the Downtown Portland Lions Club.
So tell us a little bit about your involvement with the Lions and how you now are able to help other people.
Well, I was asked to give a speech at the luncheon meeting for the Downtown Portland Lions Club by you and the foundation, just describing what I had gone through and what the surgery was like. And I was offered a packet for membership at that luncheon after I spoke, and I really enjoyed meeting the people, and I know they do enormously good work around the world, and you were kind enough to sponsor me into the club, and I've been trying to help with fundraisers and giving speeches and speaking at the breakfast at the zoo, and helping with the, letting them use my story and my image to send out fundraising literature and to share with people on your website for publicity reasons. And I have recently been appointed to the board of directors.
Congratulations.
And I am a 2-year director, so I get to vote on things now. And I've also volunteered to do sight and hearing testing at one of the mobile units. I worked at the Blues Festival last year with Dr. Heathman, and I tested hearing until 5 o'clock when the third stage started playing rock and roll.
Isn't it interesting that at the Blues Festival, downtown Portland, they have the opportunity to have your hearing screened and your vision and
blood
they're screening
pressure.
for blood pressure,
Yeah.
and what are the other, diabetes and
diabetes
and glaucoma actually is the fifth screening, which is just really wonderful. The Lions, not everybody is aware, has had a program since 1994 that actually is the largest of its kind in Oregon, and travels around the state and provides screenings for free for those 5 health issues. Really excited that this program is growing, and it's really focusing on children while it's continuing to screen adults. In Oregon, I'll take just a moment to mention that we live in this great state that has so many beautiful features, natural resources and great health care and great people. Yet, our schools have one of the lowest ratios of school nurse to student. And so school screenings for sight and hearing, which most of us when we were kids, had our vision screened and maybe our hearing screened. Well, a lot of schools now lack that. They don't have the budget, they don't have the funds, and you and other Lions are working with the Lions Sight and Hearing Foundation and using state-of-the-art technology, these handheld vision photo screeners, and going into the schools and raising the money on our own and catching issues like amblyopia and nearsightedness, of course, and different types of stereo vision issues that are preventing kids from learning as well as they should, but also, catching issues that could prevent blindness in kids' eyes. So, thanks so much for now giving back. I love hearing stories of people that have been helped, but then are actually utilizing that as an opportunity to give back and help other people.
Yeah, I think you're obligated to pay it forward.
Yeah, that's great, and Lions do a great job of that. I'll also take a moment to let our audience know that Lions clubs are throughout the state of Oregon. We'll put a number up on the screen and maybe even an email address that if you're interested in hearing about Lions and how they help keep this promise to Helen Keller, whether or not you're here in Beaverton or somewhere in the greater Portland area, in southern Oregon, central Oregon, on the Oregon coast, if you're interested in learning more about the Lions, there's a Lions Club in your community or near your community. So Dr. Grealish, thank you so much for being a Night of the Blind and for participating in our show tonight. Julia, congratulations on being a Lion. Thanks for sharing your story.
You're
and
welcome.
Thank you for joining us on another show of Nights of the Blind.